Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. It's time to have a look at the OH-58D on the update 2.29 dev server. Now, one of the things that has to be noted is this is a vehicle that is coming to two tech trees, and the first one is the American tech tree, and it's also coming to the Chinese tech tree in the form of a Taiwanese vehicle. So there are slight differences between them, not huge ones, so we won't do a video covering both. The major difference between them is the cannons that it gets access to. So the Chinese one gets the 12.7mm Gao 19, and then if you have a look at the American one, it gets access to the Gao 19, but it also gets access to the M134 and the 30mm LR30. So that's pretty much it at the end of the day. The other thing, I suppose, is the way that you research them. The American one comes after the H6M, the Little Bird, and then the Chinese one comes after the Gazelle, which is there as well. So that's pretty much it from the vehicle. The other changes, well, there aren't any. Is basically how it all goes. So the OH-58D, the Kiowa Warrior, as it's known, is another light helicopter with not a ton of ordnance, but all of the bells and whistles that you would want from a vehicle like this. So you got the IRCM, you have the countermeasures on it too. Only gets 36 of them, but you know, that's good enough, especially if you know you're getting locked. And then it also has thermals and the Hellfires and the Stingers on top of the overall setup. So it just has a ton of really cool things for it. You can see here it has the ATASs, or the Stingers as they're known, the all-aspect air-to-air missiles, and then the Hellfire 2s, which many people enjoy and will do pretty well on this vehicle as long as they decide to work. And that can be up and down whether they work or not, especially for helicopters. So you also have some interesting rockets that you'll never see because you do actually get two Hellfires stock, which is quite lovely. So you know you don't have to worry about the rocket grind, which is fantastic. And but you do get the APKWS-2s, the M2A2s, and then also the M151s and the Hydras as well. So this vehicle here, or sorry, this rocket here is a HE type, so it doesn't pen a lot. Whereas this other one has the SAP-HE, so it pens a little bit more, which is, I suppose, nicer. It depends, do you want to penetrate or do you want to overpressure is probably the way to go. Or just use the Hellfires, which I think is going to be people's main point, of course. Another really nice thing about this vehicle is where the optics are. So the optics are on the top of the helicopter blades, so you can hide the rest of the vehicle underneath a hill or underneath a mountain or something, and then just have this optical port on top and fire the Hellfires or fire whatever from it and not have to be seen. It isn't fully modeled yet, but that's where it's going to be. And of course you can see, unfortunately, our pilot has decided to take a sleep on duty for the vehicle right now. The turrets, you've got CCIP and EEGS on it. You also have CCIP for the cannons and rockets. You have the thermals, of course. I would like the optics to be slightly better, but 8 times I feel like it's okay, especially for the Hellfires and thermals. Just wish it was slightly better. You also have the Allison 250C30R engine with the transmission and propeller shaft as well, keeping it going. There is no real armor on this machine. You basically have 8.5mm on the sides, and then that's about it. So the simple fact that this vehicle is nimble, you know, it's got decent firepower, it's got all the nice systems that you would want. The major issue with it is it just doesn't have enough of them. And this can be a quick impact, high impact vehicle at the BR that it's at, which is 10.3. You got a pretty decent ground lineup that you can run with it, which is super nice. So there's at least that. But I just feel like when you have so many more helicopters with so many more ATGMs, so many more different things going around, it's just better to, you know, use those instead of this vehicle. 4 Hellfires may sound pretty nice to some, but for me at least, I would want a little bit more going around. You know, I wouldn't want just that. And you can see here, I'll show you the thermals that are around. There you go. There's the optical moving. It does for some reason lock onto targets a little bit oddly, but you can see there, you know, the Hellfire is still firing. The countermeasures fire downwards instead of sideways, which I suppose is slightly different to what people may be used to. The lock takes a while to be able to go, which does kind of suck, but at the same time it's not terrible. And the lock on the optics works pretty simply. You can actually hear the new helicopter sounds. So they brought these ones in. They do sound pretty nice, and this is not just for this helicopter, but for many that are generally around the place. Maneuverability wise, it's super maneuverable. It's able to kind of have a little bit of a decent time, and hopefully people will enjoy it. I'm just hoping that, you know, because when I have a look at these vehicles, they aren't something which I feel like are going to be too useful, just because of their issues. But at some point, there are guys who like, you know, rushing with these things, trying to get caps, trying to move around and do a decent amount with them. And hopefully, this will be one of those vehicles people do that with, or it'll just be sat there and people will just use all the standard meta stuff with way more munitions and way more stuff going forward. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Brendan Quinn, Vilneus, Character Fuel, Juan the Panda, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Merciless Reaper, Orange Tail, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Moxie, B. Young, Bareen, Peter Grayling, Alan Hacker, Sem Alslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R, and also Lafouche for supporting the channel.